Good evening, all of you. How's your Sunday going? I hope it's going great. So today we have Mr. Nitin Singh with us, who scored a whopping 99.87 percentile in MAH CET 2016. Right. So any queries regarding MAH CET that you have today, you can shoot them to us. You can shoot them to Nitin. Nitin, he'll answer himself. Yes. So Nitin, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Nikita, for calling me in, first of all. Second, about myself, I would say I have like a journey. I did my engineering from VJTI, a batch of 2015. So somewhere during that time, I realized I have to, go towards finance. Then I decided to take up lunch, and then I gave my CET in the year 2016. I worked for 1 year in State Bank before that, 2015 to 16. And then I got into JB. Luckily, I interned with HSBC when I was in GB. Then markets was something which always interested me, and the profile which was offered in the finals was really great by Reliance. So since 2018, I have been working with Reliance. First, I worked on the borrowing side, on the fundraising side, working capital management on day-to-day basis, and then last 1 year, I have been working on the fixed income side. So I have been lucky to handle multiple products in the sense commodities, fixed income, etc. So that is a little bit about me. And when I don't think about markets, I'm someone who is an avid reader. I like to read about multiple things, especially nonfiction, like investing, management, or history, culture, or political history of the country, etc. So yeah, these are the few things about me.
So I think your reading must have helped you a lot with the verbal ability section, at least.
Not a single iota of doubt in my mind about that, 100%. And I think the reading habit which I had was very old. When I was 10 years old, my grandfather actually used to give me books to read. He was a professor. So I think that reading bug caught me from there. And then I think we'll talk about the strategy. But yeah, I agree that verbal was very easy for me, thankfully, because of my reading habit of like 15 years. And that is something which I like to do because it helps me get into that particular zone. So yeah, it helped me a lot in verbal, especially.
All right. So students have joined us. Rajeshwar, Jitesh, Rahul, good evening. Any queries you can ask us during the session. Okay. I'll tell them to Nitin and he'll answer all your queries. Right. So Nitin, that means I can assume that verbal ability was the first section that you attempted in MAH CET.
Yes. So verbal ability was the first section I attempted. So CAT and CT were the exams which I gave, and I prep for both in a different manner. We'll talk about it. CAT differently a little, and in CT differently, verbal ability. But then, yes, in both the exam, in all the exams I gave, CAT and CT, that is. So verbal ability was something which I tackled first because of two reasons. First is I personally believe, anything that you are doing, especially in a pressure exam like MST CT, which is very focused and very time-based, unlike CAT, which have a little bit more time, but more conceptual in nature. So you should, in any exam, start with something which you think you are good at. And I think you will get to know that basis your preparation, your mocks, your strategies that you will do in last 1 year, must have done for last 1 year in MST CT. That is one. You have to do something which you are good at. Number two, from the mocks, you will realize the sections in which you are scoring a lot in very compressed time, especially in CT, right? In CT, you have like 150 minutes. In that, if you are tackling, say, in like 20 minutes, all the question of verbal, 25 minutes, you have a lot more question for the section which you think is difficult for you. So I'll tell you my priority in all the exams were verbal. Thankfully, in all the exams I did, verbal was something which I aced, thankfully. Second was I used to go to LRDI. Now, being an engineer, a little bit analytical mindset came helpful for me in DI. So I did DI second. And then Quant was something which I always wanted to give more time. So I used to keep it at the last. And then I used to tackle it in this particular way, especially in CAT. And then in CT, what I used to do, verbal ability for me was the top. Then I used to do logical reasoning and DI. And then for me, abstract reasoning was something which was completely new, which was not there in CAT, right? Yeah. So abstract reasoning, I actually prepped a lot because it was completely new. I have never done it in any exam I have given. So abstract reasoning was third for me. And then Quant was fourth for me. So this was always the proper order. So you are correct when you said verbal was always the first I attempted. Yeah.
Okay. So the takeaway is that see which section is giving you maximum marks per minute. Okay. Decide like this and go in the order of your strengths, in probably the decreasing order of your strengths. Right?
Yeah. Also, just to butt in there, I would say the reason is when you start something which you don't like, you are a lot more under a lot of pressure, right? So maybe we can take example, and yeah, in my all the talk, I can give you multiple example from sports and markets because these are the two things I like. I like to almost watch almost every sport, and I take inspiration from multiple things. That is one. And second is markets because I have been investing in equity markets since 2015 now, and officially as a employee I have been doing that since the last 2 years, right? Commodities and then fixed income. So I can give a little bit example from sports and markets, so please bear with me. So I would say, for example, you take someone champ like Virat Kohli, our Indian captain. So I have never seen him playing any shot which is risky. So risky shots are the one like maybe Rishabh Pant plays behind. So it is something behind the wicket. It is a simple touch towards third man or a paddle sweep or something like ABD Villiers plays. But Virat never does that because he keeps things simple. He knows that he has the capability to score in the V, to score in the R. There is no need for him, to go to complex things. That's what the great investor Warren Buffett also preaches. That and he has been like more than $100 billion. So you have to listen to him because he has obviously something right. So it's simple. Investing is simple. Markets are simple. Sports is simple. So in a similar way, please keep CT also simple. Just go and tackle something which you want, you like, and you score. So scoring is also important. It's not you like verbal, you are going but not scoring. But then I have assumed you must have given lots of mocks. So you have strategized, okay, you are good at verbal, good at quant, etc. So tackle that's something which you like and you think will fetch you the maximum marks per minute, as we call productivity in MBA terms, which you will learn once you enter into the college.
Right. And I think when you start with something that's difficult for you, it's difficult for you, you end up taking a lot more time because that time is available right now. You've just started. You take more time and then you're not very sure about your answers. So it sort of plays with your confidence, shakes your confidence. So you would not want to do that right in the beginning of your paper. So yes, go with something that you like, that you're scoring, right? Where you're scoring.
Doubt about it. Exactly.
So Rahul has a question for us. He's asking, what was your average mock score?
Okay, great. So yeah, just a caveat in this sense, I would say there's a range. Obviously, everyone knows if you have to crack JB, say 120 of more than 1 lakh people who are giving exam. So the mock, that the score, exact score that will give you that 99.9 percentile. In my case, I was a little bit lucky in the sense 99.87 got me through. That was like a cutoff score during my time. But now I think it has inched up a little, 99.9 percentile or 99.92 in last 2-3 years. Competition has increased. But then I think during my time, that score was somewhere between 140 to 150. So if you score like 140 raw score to 150, it was something that you can say with good probability that, okay, I'll get through JB this year, unless and until the exam is very simple. So that score will go up. If it is very difficult during our time, actually, if you go back to 2016 CT, logical reasoning was not easy. Some people say it was actually to a level of CAT in the year 2016. So average score were not in the range of 160s or 165. It was actually more in 145ish and 150. So in mock, obviously, I almost gave 14 to 15 mocks in 3 months. So first, in the month of December 2015, I started my preparation diligently. December, January, and February, like half of February, were completely spent in brushing up the concepts to understand few tips and tricks, few strategies, the time-based one that you can do in CT especially. And then, less to 20, because we have like in the first or second week of March, we have the exams, right? So by mid of February, you can start giving mocks. Okay, just try to give giving mock is very important. I do understand, but analyzing the score of the mock is equally important. So just to come back to the point, I gave almost like 14 to 15 mocks, and my average It started quite low because I was not accustomed to the speed, because I gave CAT and then I started prep for CT, right? So I was not very accustomed to the speed. So it was hovering in the 110, 115 range. But then I realized, since I don't have speed at this point of time, first mock, maybe if I do a little bit more practice, I can be better. And then I think it inched up a little, and then consistently I was scoring somewhere in 135 to 140 range. But then, yeah, I think in the final exam, my raw score again was in this range, with the only difference, the mocks that I gave were actually much simpler. So I was getting 140-ish in that. But the exam, actually, if you go back 2016 CT LR, is not easy. So please go and see that. So in that case, when I got like 130 and 140, I realized maybe I'll make through this year. So yeah, I would say 135 to 140-ish was my range, but then it can change. It can change depending on the difficulty level of the paper.
Okay, Rahul, I hope that answers your question. He has another query that he says that he's a non-engineer and he's been preparing for CET for the last 2 months. Does it make sense to start preparing for CAT as well from now on?
Rahul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rahul, so what I do understand the dilemma that you are in. So first, so is this his first attempt? Because answer, I think, will depend on that. If you can ask him.
Okay. Yes, Rahul, can you answer this? Is this your first attempt? Yes, this is his first attempt.
Okay. So what I'll recommend in this case, since it is his first attempt and he's a non-engineer, okay, so focus on CT at this moment. Okay. Why do I say so? Because when you see the risk and return, what we call about reward and risk ratio in markets or financial markets, so he has like, I'm assuming the notification will come somewhere, we don't know DT, but then it can come. Exam can be in the month of September or end August, anything. So what I would say, next 20 days, you are competing, 1 year versus 20 days. Okay. So don't neglect CT at all. Okay. So JBIMS, as everyone knows, is like one of the best colleges in the country. So give it your all. Okay. I'm assuming that you are doing good in mocks. Okay. If at this point of time, like 20 days from the exam, if you are scoring, say 110, 150, don't be disheartened. Okay. Just analyze the mock, start analyzing first mock, second mock, third mock, fourth mock, and see which are the areas where you are losing marks. The moment you see that, there are only 2 reasons why you might be scoring less, if at all. Okay. First is you don't have conceptual clarity. You don't have knowledge about the base, what we call the concepts. And second is you are doing good as far as the concepts are concerned, but then you are lacking time, because of which you are doing some silly errors and stuff. Okay. So what you have to do is see where you are having problem. Okay. And then if it is silly mistake, I would say just start giving mocks in the simulated environment, what we call, right? I used to do it. For example, I knew if my CET is from 12 to 2, 12 to 2, 12 to 2:30. Okay. So what can help you actually, and this is proven by the research, that try to put yourself in that environment every single day. So don't give mocks 10 to 12. Give it 12 to 12:30, 12 to 2:30. Okay. So just try to ascertain maybe how the center can be. Will there be AC? Will there be no AC? If there is AC, just again have an air-conditioned room where you are, because I'll just tell you, when put under pressure, people think human beings react in a very random way. No, they don't. Scientifically, it is proven. If you have a habit, if you have a routine, you behave in exactly that way. So the moment in the exam you are put under pressure, you're not getting something, will exactly behave the same way you have prepped for last 20 days in the simulated environment. Okay. So I'm assuming you're scoring well, 110 to 120. I hope he is.
Yes,
right?
he is. Yeah.
Yes. So focus on CT right now. Just let it get through. And again, as I said, actually, to be very honest, the nature of the exams are quite different. CAT is not speed-based, it is more conceptual in nature, and a CT is not. But at this point of time, just give it all to CT, and then just focus on the mocks, improve. And then I would say, see, people will say it's difficult, obviously, because the competition is so much. Like 1 lakh people and 120, 130 will get in. to JB, right? But then just flip it a little, have a little change of mindset, as I call it. I'm actually taking this concept directly from one of the books which I read. So there's called something called growth mindset, okay, versus the fixed mindset. So what you can do, yeah, you just see it's not you have 120 out of 1 lakh. Just see you want just 1 seat out of 120. Okay, so just have confidence in you that 1 seat, yeah, I can take it. Okay, just do that and then start having mocks in simulated environment. That will help you much more. You will realize if at all you are under pressure on the D-Day, on the final day.
Right. So what you're talking about, it's mentioned in this book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. So yes, I think you would benefit a lot by reading it. When we were having a discussion with Urvika, she said something similar, and then also it struck my mind that okay, this book would actually help you a lot. Okay. Also, because this thing is coming up again and again, that taking mocks analysis. Now that we are assuming that let's say just 20 days are left, what else should a student do in these 20 days?
Okay. I think very pertinent for aspirants at least. So I'll tell you what I did. Okay. So then, I have obviously I talked to multiple juniors who have been what they have done. So this is coming directly from them, and few of the things which suits aspirants, they can take it. Okay. So what I did. So I was thankfully almost done with my preparation by February 2016. And I realized I have like 30 days. All the exams are done. I gave only 1 CAT, so it is done for me anyways. Okay. So now in I'm in the month of February. Okay. I have like 30 to 40 days since the D-Day. Okay. Because actually on 1st or 2nd of February I started giving mocks. So I can say I'll just stretch it from 20 days to 30 days. What I did, I used to give 1 mock. Yeah. I used to give like 1 mock. I used to come from office. Used to give 1 in the evening. Okay. I used to come back, give 1 in the evening, but then I used to, spend time then and there, even though I was tired, to just analyze the mock at that particular point of time. Because if you leave that mock to the next day, there is a possibility something else would have crept into your mind. You are reading something else, you are prepping something else. There is some problem in the office, and anything can happen. So yes, I do understand there will be people who are working. There will be people who are not working. I think you have a lot more time on your hand. Okay. So first start giving mock. Okay. Again, in the simulated environment, please try if possible. Okay. That will help you a lot. That is number 1. Second, once you start analyzing, you have to analyze why are you going wrong. When I say the 2 things, either concept or silly mistakes that you are making. Okay. If it is concept, I would say you still have 1 month. Okay. Just try to do analysis if concept is something which gives a lot, on which lot of questions come in exam. For example, abstract reasoning. Now, abstract reasoning carries almost, if I'm not wrong, please correct me, 25 to 30 marks, right? So you can't neglect abstract reasoning at all if you want to get into a top B school. There is no chance. Okay. But let us come on to something else. What I can come on to say, this is not a suggestion that you don't read. Okay. You have to complete the syllabus. You have to complete all the concepts. Okay. But just have a cursory look, like in the last, say, 10 CET, Maharashtra CET. Okay. You're doing, say, quant. Okay. So for example, I would say there was one particular section, which was especially in CAT, which gave me a lot of problem. And I realized from this question, they used to come a 1 question, because see, understand, they have to maintain the diversity of the question. They can't give you 10 questions on probability. It's impossible. If it comes, it's completely bad luck. You can't do anything about it. Okay. So if you have less time on your hand, if you have time, please complete all the concepts. If you don't, then a smart work would be much more helpful than hard work. Please see which are the questions which kind of carries less weight. Okay, just try to see if there's a possibility, if you have time. If you don't have time, you can leave it, to be honest. Okay. Second, in last few days, do mocks, analyze them, see which are the areas where you are losing marks, the structure basically. So if you're losing mark in a question, try to do the concept. If you don't have time, just try to see how many questions come from that particular, or in multiple exams in the last 10 to 15 years, if you can. Try to leave it if it is very low, because please understand, in general, we talk that life is a marathon and not a sprint, right? In CT, it's exactly ulta. Okay, it is not a marathon, it is a sprint. So see, because you have to crack like 150 in 150 minutes, you have to crack 200 questions, right? So for you have less than a minute for every question that you have. And you don't have to solve everything. As I told you, 140, 145 during my time will fetch you a seat at JB. Okay. So leaving that 1 or 2 question is very okay. Okay. So yeah, so analyze your mocks, see where you're going wrong, try to work upon it. If you don't have time and it is less weight, carries less weight, you can leave it. And last moment, I would say, I'm assuming you will have some ready reckoner at this point of time. When I say ready reckoner, there are few things you have to by heart in CT. There is no doubt about it. For example, if I today ask you what is 7 raised to 3, 7 cube, you should know it. 9 cube, you should know it, because that is how the nature of exam is. CAT is not like that. You have calculator over there, right? So try to have a ready reckoner of the things which will help you in the long run in CT. That can be as simple as synonyms, right? Someone who is not, say, good in quant, but little less in verbal, have play cards about synonyms. If you have to say, remember it, you have to memorize it, because it will help you a lot. So people only see that only synonym come for 1 marks or 2 marks, but no. If you know synonym of multiple words, solving reading comprehension becomes this like you. Solving parajumbles is much easier if you know lots of word and their meanings, right? So these are the few tips that you can see, because yeah, this is all things obviously on the assumption that you have prepped really well in last 4 to 5 months. Yeah.
Okay, so Sana, I hope this answers your query. In 1 month, in 30 days, in the 20 days that you have, take mocks, analyze them, see what are your strengths. And if, let's say, you are weak in a topic, see how much weightage it carries in the exam. If it doesn't carry a lot of weightage, then don't be so worried about it, right? So I think these are a few things that can work for you in these last few days, right?
Don't ignore weightage heavy. For example, as I give example of abstract reasoning, you can't ignore abstract reasoning. But in quant, you have like literally 20 different topics, right? 20 to 30 different topics. Time and work, time and distance, speed. You have probability, you have permutation and combination, you have arithmetic, you have something on geometry, you have calculus, not calculus, sorry, you have something on geometry, right? So try to see which carries less weight, and if possible, just try to be a little more smart about it. It's all I would say.
Right. Also, what Nitin said, that analyze your mocks quickly once you take them. Okay, don't wait, let's say that I'll analyze them after 2 days, because you might not remember your thought process that went into a question when you solved it, right? So it's important that you remember how you went about it during the test, so that you know, okay, could I apply a better method, right? So don't delay analyzing the mocks. That's also there. Then we have this question that, so because we were talking about quant, you said that, there are multiple topics in quant. So Rahul is saying that in quant is his weak area and he's not scoring more than 20 in that. So what is it that he should do?
So again, I would go back to just see, first of all, why are you not scoring it in CT? Everything, verbal, reasoning, quant, boils down to one reason: you are getting it wrong. Okay, now there's only 2 reasons. There cannot be third reason. I'm very sure about it. Okay, because I've given the exam. So please see why you are getting it wrong. Okay, first, is it worry of time? You are feeling, for example, when you're giving mock, I'm assuming you'll be starting with one section, starting with the other, starting with the third, right? Till now, since you have time, since you already have time, like 20 to 30 days, if you are scoring less in quant, okay, first, if your concepts are clear and still you are making mistakes, say time-based mistake, what I will suggest, though I don't suggest this before like 5 to 10 days of the exam, because by then you have to internalize a process that first you will start with example, verbal, then LRDI, and anything that works for you, right? So currently, if you think you are getting stuck in because you are doing it at the end of the in the priority wise, so try to switch it at the front. Okay, so what I'll say, because you're scoring less, as you said, in quant, okay, and if it is not due to concept, so you know the concept. If it is due to concept, you have to go back and brush up on the concepts. That's very simple. Second, if it is not due to concepts, it is due to time, just please try to play around with the section, try to switch it at the front, give it a little more time, just to see that if you give it, say, if you're giving it, say, 30 minutes, just example, okay, now just give it 35 or 40. and see if they're giving extra 10 minutes to those 20 questions, and if you get it right, okay, and how much that affects your other section, LR, and then DI, abstract reasoning, verbal, in any order you want, okay? Just try to switch it, see some different strategy that works for you. If your mock increases, the score increases, say you're scoring 110, if it goes to 120, then try to do this for 2 or 3 mocks more. But you have to improve with every mock. It can't be you're scoring 100 to 120 and then you're coming back to 110 with this strategy, that is getting conned at the front of the exam and then going to other section. Okay, the best thing would be try this. And again, just a caveat, I'm suggesting this because you still have time. Okay, but say 10 or 5 days before exam, okay, the final say 3 to 4 mocks that you give, it has to be conditioned. You have to mentally condition yourself. No. So, I'm good with work, because till now, see, you will realize in the section you are good in, 100% you'll know that. You're good in quant, you're good in verbal, etc. Okay. So by then you will realize, okay, this is something which is giving me 130, 135, 140. So I'll go with this strategy in exam. Okay. So you go with that strategy. That is 1 point. So I think that is something you have to do. Just try to see whether it is concepts. If not concept, then switch it at the front.
Right. So either it's a concept-based concern or it is a strategy concern. So see where the problem lies and fix it accordingly. Right.
I would actually say it's actually come very a shocker for many people. But despite being an engineer, verbal has always been one of my favorite section because I was good at it. Okay. And quant I used to do at the last. Okay. But then with multiple mocks, which I gave, like I told you, 15 to 16 mocks I gave, I was quite, I think, lucky in that sense. I realized I'm scoring particular number in verbal, which was, I think, very good. And then LR, and then abstract reasoning, and then quant. And I was happy because I knew that if I do this, I score only this much from the mock, I'll still cross, say, 135, 140, and I get that 140 seat. Because, see, at the end, no one is going to ask you how much you scored in quant, right? He'll ask you what's your final raw score, and percentile obviously is. So just try to move around, just see. But then have a fixed pattern, at least in your mind, at least 5 mocks into the CT. Because then what happens now, you can't keep switching. As I talk about habit conditioning, it's very important for human being. People underestimate the power of routine. Just have that routine, as MS Dhoni calls it, just have that process in place. Once you have that process in place, the results will follow.
Absolutely. So yes, so try switching your mock, your order of sections for, let's say, 2-3 mocks now, and then yes, before the exam in your last 4-5 mocks, you should have a fixed order. That's what Nitin is telling us. Now, moving on to other queries. So question selection. Sharvi has a query regarding, selection of questions that, sometimes we are expecting the questions to be in a particular order and we have a particular question selection in mind, but then things don't go according to our way in the exam. Okay, let's say I had thought of selecting those areas that are my strength, but then those very areas turned out to be very difficult during the exam. So how do I select questions then? Second is, if I had imagined a particular order, but then that order does not come in the exam, then how do I go about it? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So when I talked about, conditioning, obviously that is only one part of the exam. This does not mean that aspirant has to be rigid. Okay. Aspirant, for example, someone like me, I cannot be rigid. Okay. So I'm very good in verbal. I'm like God in verbal. I have to score 100% in verbal reasoning and RC. But then I go say in RC and suddenly there is very abstract reading comprehension. And I think all the aspirants will realize how difficult abstract topics are, right? So at that point of time does not mean I have to spend a lot of time on that. Because as I said, no one is going to ask you your sectional cutoff, especially in CT. It doesn't even matter, right? There is no sectional cutoff like that. So yeah, so in this case, I will say just have a broad focus in your mind, which sections you want to do. When you go to a particular section, okay, now you are in a verbal. Okay, say you are in a verbal, you are going to attack this particular section because that is how you have conditioned yourself. And inside verbal, you are encountering tough questions. Okay, just have one thing in mind. Just do simple math, 200 divided by 150, right? So that is 200 question, 150 minutes. That is the time that you have, okay? don't, especially in CT, don't get attached to a question. The moment you get attached to a question, you take it on your ego, for example, that no, this is verbal, this RC I have to solve. How can I not solve it, right? If it is not to your liking, just leave it. Just purely see what is the risk reward in this case. If I spend, say, like 10 minutes on a 4-question RC, does that make sense in exam like CT? That is like 2.5 minutes for every question, where I have less than a minute for every question. So despite verbal being of my liking, I like verbal. If I'm spending 2.5 minutes, so at that point of time, so I say this actually to many people, when you go into MBA, before that CT test you actually on how you are managing your resources. In this case, time is your resource. You have to manage your resource. So if you go into a section, you don't like it, you don't like a question. When I say you don't like it, you're not getting it. Obviously, if you get it right, you will like it. Okay, just see. Okay, what I would say, maximum, even though actual number is much less, like 200 question, 150 minutes, you have less than a minute. Maximum you can spend, think about a question, if you're not getting, is a minute. Ideally, it should be less than a minute, because I'm assuming you will solve few questions quicker than minute, right? You'll be solve something in like 20, for example, verbal in, like, you can solve multiple things in less than 20 seconds also, right? And you get one mark equal for a big quant problem and a verbal problem, antonym, synonym. Just a simple example in parajumpers for that matter, right? So I would say the thing is, if you don't get a question, please move on. Don't spend more than a minute on any question. There is no way you're going to complete 200 questions if you're spending more than a minute in a section that you like, right? So don't do it. Just move on to next question. Why I'm saying so? Suppose if you are someone who is very good at quant and you are not getting it, so there is a chance that maybe, I don't know, 99 percentile of the people won't get it because you think you're good at quant. Okay, if you're not getting it, people are not. It's not an absolute war, if I call it a war or battle for that matter. So it's a relative battle, right? You have to just beat 99.9 percentile of the people who are giving exams. Just try to view it like that, and CT test you how you manage your resources, time in this case. So they prep you for MBA before MBA.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. So the marks per minute, that is what should always be on your mind. Right?
And yeah, I would just say one thing. So quite few things which I see, like, you can be wrong because of two reasons. One is concept and one is simple error. And then I talk about efficiency / productivity, marks per minute. People would say these things, that what he's saying is very simple, right? But then please understand, most of the things in life are simple. It is we who make it complex. Okay, there's a very famous quote by Charlie Munger. So Charlie Munger is like a business partner of Warren Buffett, more than 60-70 billion dollars. So he has talked about the power of simplicity. Okay, everything it boils down to one simple thing. Do you have a framework? Do you have a process in place? Okay, and that process has to be simple. If it is not simple, please let me assure you, you're doing something wrong. For example, what we saw in 2007-8 global financial crisis, it was the complex financial product which led to the demise. Okay,
Right.
So just keep it simple. Just follow few things, do it correctly, do it day in and day out. And if you are good at what you are doing, at the end of the day, most of the good people deserve what they get.
Okay. So I think that would answer your question, Charvi. And Sana is asking a very interesting question. Let's see what you say to this. Can you suggest how to do smart work for CET exam if the concepts are not clear?
Okay, so this is in cricketing terms a clear bouncer to me. Okay, so see. I won't honestly recommend this particular part because it's deadly. Okay, why I'm saying so? I can give you, say, 10 tips about being a smart when concepts are not clear. But then what happened in 2016 during my CET? For example, someone who had very, just say, superficial knowledge about logical reasoning. So when he went into the exam, it was impossible to solve sets in logical reasoning because they were difficult. You require that conceptual clarity. Okay. So what I would say, I just answer, see, please understand. When you are having a diet, a food as Indian food, so you want to have some basic food. Okay. that is rice, you have dal, you have roti, you have sabzi. So once this basic necessity is completed, you get the protein, you get carbs, good carbs, and minerals, vitamins, etc. Then you go to the garnishing, which is, you say, a dessert, which is a gulab jamun or something else. Unless you have that base, so in this case, that basic food, the healthy diet is your concepts. And then the smart work which comes are the garnishing, like all the gulab jamun, etc. Right? So, and you know what happens if you eat a lot of gulab jamun without having good diet. So I would answer this, please. I personally don't think there is any substitute for concepts. So concept has to be clear. Otherwise, you'll be caught on the wrong foot in exam. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I hope this answers your query. Okay. Rishabh has a query. I'm not good at solving puzzles. How should I go ahead about it?
Okay. So I would just say one thing, that this is, as I talk about, you cannot leave abstract reasoning, right? You can leave few things here and there, maybe in XYZ places. Everything cannot be left. Similarly, puzzles, I personally think cannot be left, okay? Because puzzles are something which are like a favorite of examiner. There are lots of puzzles in CAT also, especially in CT also. And the good part about puzzle is, if you solve a puzzle, you get like 4 to 5 marks back in your bag. So if you are successful in solving a puzzle, say you have a circular seating arrangement, right? If you have all the things in place and then you do it in 2 minutes, you have 5 questions in the bag, half a minute for every question, right? So sorry, 2 minutes you do 5 questions. So that is 2 upon 5 into 16. That's the amount of seconds that you are taking, which is less than the average time that you should take, which is very good. Okay, so don't leave it. Now, how to do it? So I would just give my example of quant. There are few sections in quant which I was not very good at. Okay, so what I tried, again, when I analyzed my marks, I realized, okay, this is the area which I'm not good at. Okay, then I just went to the basics. Just pick up a good booklet, pick up a good course. You can, I think I'm sure you'll get it on Gradeup app. Okay, just take up. Just try. First thing I would say, just try and solve last 10 years CT papers, especially on puzzles, since you're not getting puzzle, as you said, right? So more or less, you will have a seating arrangement, linear one, you will have a circular one, you will have blood relation, right? So these are some things which I still remember after 5 years, right? So solve 10 years paper of CT, because thankfully, more or less, the level of exam is same, barring few of the outliers like 2016 or 2017 also. I heard that LR was not that simple. Okay, just try to solve LR a notch above CT, just a little notch above. This will give you more confidence. This will help you clear your concepts. Then go and solve 10 years paper. Once you solve 10-year paper, then go with a more positive mindset and solve it again in at least 5 marks. And just try to see how you are doing now. Okay, so I think people, I would give this suggestion to every aspirant, that you are giving mocks. It's damn good. It's a damn good thing. You have to give it. But I would say, even before that, please try to get your hands on CT papers of last 10 years and solve it. You will believe, you will have confidence, number one, because when you solve the puzzle there, you're like, okay, this is something which is doable in 2 minutes. If I can do this in 2013 CT, I think if this come in 2020 CT, 2021 CT, I can do it again. Okay, that confidence is very important, right? So do that, solve the papers, do mocks, and then I think you will see it. Because again, I'll come back. CT is a speed-based exam with basic concepts in place. Okay, so there is not any concept that ideally you should not get it. Okay, it is an exam which is speed-based, basic concepts. Once your basic concepts are clear, then I think you can actually solve most of the questions over there.
It's a very detailed answer, and I think it's pretty implementable. So I hope it helps you, Rishabh. Right, coming to the next query. Okay, so I think this is a very a situation that students usually face, that when they look at a question in the exam, it appears difficult, but when they analyze it, they realize that, okay, this was an easy question. So why do you think that is happening with Rahul, and how can he actually address this problem?
Okay, so so what I would say, this can arise of one reason, what I can think of at this point of time. I think it happened with me also multiple times when you are under time pressure. So I don't know if Rahul is under time pressure when he is giving me this particular situation, right? But if at all you are, just try to see again, go back to the basics. Why do you think at that point of time that this was difficult? But then see, understand, once you have answer key, everything will look simple to you. Okay, let's be fair. Okay, in retrospection, you will feel it was simple. But then to solve that simple thing in 45 seconds in exam is what will separate you, right? And again, as I said, if at that point of time you think it is difficult, again, see, you cannot solve 200 questions. Please be assured. If you can solve 200 questions with confidence, 100% you're getting into GB, 100%. Okay, you won't be able to solve 200 questions. Okay, you can try if you're damn nice. Okay, very nice. Okay, just try to do 170, 180 question with good accuracy. Once you have that 85 to 90% accuracy, you have confidence in yourself. 170, if you're 90% right, you will get 153 correct, right? And then 30, okay, you have time, you do it. Otherwise, in CT, you don't have negative marks. You know what you have to do. Okay, so if at that point of time you think it is difficult, please move on. Because why? It can be simple, and you will realize later. But then what will happen, because your brain has already given you the signal, the neurons have told you that yes, this is difficult. So that is going to play in your mind, and there is a possibility you might not be able to solve it. Again, 1 or 2 questions C does not make any difference. It can make a difference going to GB or not going to GB. But then in the larger scheme of things, spending 2 minutes, and then if you have thought it is difficult, you're doing because your brain has given the signal it is difficult, you will lose time over there. So the best thing would be just leave it, move on, because you will get in cricket also, you get full tosses, right? There also you are going to get questions which are very simple. It's actually very simple. I'll tell you, they're very simple. You'll feel like, okay, you'll question, have I done this correct? Because it's so simple. And I think you'll agree, Nikita, right?
Yeah. Low-hanging fruits are always there in every exam.
Every exam. Just focus on those low-hanging fruit. Just hit them out of the park, and leave the difficult one or seemingly difficult one. Even if they seem difficult, if you think you're going to spend more than 1 minute, it's not worth it. Just move on. No attachments in CT, especially.
Right. In any exam for that matter, you shouldn't get emotional about the question.
Yes. No, CT is important because the time is very less as opposed to other exams.
Yes, becomes all the more important. Right. So just to build on what you said earlier about solving the previous year papers and solving the mocks. So Rahul is facing this, that when he's solving the previous year papers, he's scoring well in quant. Okay. But when he's solving the mocks, somehow there is a mismatch there and the score is low in quant. So, I mean, he's just asking that how can I address this?
Okay, a good question, because I think what is happening in this case, 2 things. First is clearly the environment in which he's solving past year mocks. Number 1, that is, if he's trying to simulate the exact mock status versus previous year question paper, that is one I want to know from him. And I think if the environment is different, that plays a lot of role. People actually in exams, they focus on what we call the hard aspects of the exam. And then there are softer aspects, the environment, your mindset, your confidence, which are equally important. Okay. So first thing is that, but everything being equal, like he's giving in the same environment, simulated environment, I would say just to see this question arise simple. So just see the level, the usual level of that mock. Okay. So what I'll see, if you're giving 20 mocks, as I told you, just have a prep a little level above. But then please understand, for example, I give my personal example. I used to give one particular XYZ institute's mock at that point of time in 2016. And I don't know, for some reason, it was very difficult. Okay. Then after giving 3 or 4 mocks, I realized it is actually not going to help me. Why I say so? See, so when you score like 100 in a difficult mock, in one, it's good. When you do it twice, thrice, 4 times, then actually it plays on your mind and confidence. Okay, is this something the level of CET is more difficult than CET? And is there a possibility that this level of mock can come in exam? First, the point is, can this level come in the exam? If it is not coming, if you give 20 mark, you have 100 in everything, you're doubting yourself, you have like low level confidence on the D day, as we call, you have jitters on the exam day, you don't perform well, right? So I would just say one thing, please analyze the little bit difficulty of the mocks also, because it's very important to have a balance in the mock. You give difficult mocks, I want to don't give difficult mock, but obviously you should have a balance somewhere. Okay, because if you're doing bad in mocks but good in previous year's paper, I would say your concepts are clear, because more or less the level of the question should remain same in mocks and previous year question. So if suddenly the level of questions are much difficult in mock, okay, so you need to see whether those level of question will come in exam, honestly. Okay, that is something that you can have a look at. Yeah.
Right. So I think very important takeaway is whether you've attempted both of them in the same environment, and secondly, whether the level that matches. Are you selectively talking about those mocks that have been difficult? So you need to analyze that a bit. Right. Let's move to another query. Okay, so this is a slightly different query. Can you suggest any short-term finance certifications which can help to build CV for summer internship interviews?
Okay. Okay. So this is like, honestly, you're putting the cart before the horse. Okay. But since it has been asked, I would say at this point of time, please focus on CT. So I think assumption at this point of time from the person who asked the question is simply that he or she wants to get into a good finance college, and JB is one of them. Everyone knows that. Okay. So once you go there, so extra finance certification will give you a little edge in placement. I do understand. But then you have to crack CT first. So just keep that in mind at least once. But I'll answer the question in any case. Okay. So obviously there are multiple certification, but I think the ones that you can do, if you get into JB, there'll be at particular time you get summer placements, right? So you have to do certifications which you can complete before those particular placements, right? I can suggest you CFA, FRM, right? But then CFA and FRM will happen in December, right? So you won't have that certification before summer placement, right? So nothing to show for. So yes, so there is, for example, NSC and BSc. Both of them have many modules, okay? At this point of time, if you already know what you have to do when you go into finance, for example, after a point of time, I realized in JB, I have to do treasury. There are multiple places in finance, right? You can do corporate banking, you can do risk management. In risk also, you can do operational risk, financial risk. In financial risk, there are multiple things. Or you can want to go to investment banking, you want to go to markets, treasury, etc. So depending on what you like, just go to BSc or NSC website. I think it's more relevant to NSC websites. Just go to NSC website, just see the modules that you have over there. And then you can just do few courses. So those courses are something which take like 15 days to 30 days. You can get certifications quite quickly. And then you can put it on your CV. So it will carry a little bit, but then first crack the CV.
Right. Okay. Then after this, solving last year papers. Yes, Sana, solving last year papers of any exam is always helpful. Okay, it's not just about CET, it's also about CAT, NMAT. You take any exam, okay, wherever previous year papers are available, you are lucky, solve them. Okay, learn from them. Right. So Sharvi has put it in very straightforward terms. She's asking, tukke cover kaise mare? That's what she's asking.
Okay, so Charlie was the one who asked about, if I'm not wrong, smart work, if your concepts are not...
That was Sana.
Okay. So Charvi, yeah, I would say that, see, at the end of the day, it's all, you must have learned probability, permutation and combination both in your CT and CAT preparation, if you have done both. Okay, so probability at the end of the day is a probability. I can't tell you. Just obviously just keep this in mind. Don't put everything A, don't put everything B, don't put everything C, don't put everything D. Okay, because There is no science to it. There is no art to it. It's pure tukka. It's pure gambling. It's pure lottery. It's lottery. Okay. And you know, what are the odds of winning a lottery? It's very less, right? So I would say just keep on doing random anything, because it has to be your day. If you have to see, please understand. There are completely two aspects to do anything in life. Leave alone CT. Okay. You have to do your hard work. Okay. And you need to have that little bit of, say, 5% luck on the particular day, right? 95% hard work and 5% luck. But the good point about this is, the thing that you have in your control is the 95% of hard work thing, and not the 5% of circumstances. Okay. So don't focus on those 5%. Once you're focused on 95%, which is in your hand, you can ace it. You won't even require that 5% of luck. Okay. So yeah, in terms of any strategies, is do random. Yeah, there is no science to it, no art to it, nothing to it. It's a lottery. Yeah.
Right. And finally, we have a question from Rahul that, okay, so I think Rahul, you know the answer to this already. So he's asking that the mock series that I have bought is pretty difficult. So in these last few days, should I go for another mock series now?
Yes, 100%, no doubt about it. So when you are giving the exams, and see, obviously you have to compare with past year CT papers. Whenever I say the level of difficulty, okay, so you have prep for, say, 5 to 6 months, you will understand good idea from the level of the question you have prep, number one. And second, the level of question which has been asked. For example, see, it is not like this CT has been, say, average too difficult in 10 years, and suddenly in 11th year it will be very difficult. They are not going there. Okay. Because obviously they want to welcome you to the college and not scare you away from GB, right? So yeah, please see the levels. If you think it is difficult, if all the mocks are difficult, few mocks difficulty is okay. It will make you harden and it will make you prepare for the eventuality, like what happened in 2016 LR. One or two sets were quite difficult, CAT level. Okay, it's okay. Okay, it will help you maintain the balance, keep you on your toes, keep your confidence on a normal level. Okay, but if everything is difficult and you think with your judgment these kind of questions cannot come in CT, if you think that, I think you should go for more which is in which resonate more with CT than anything else. Yeah.
Okay, right. So Rishabh is asking, I'll answer this. Where to find previous year papers in Gradeup for MAH CET? So when you go to the Gradeup app, on the top side, right, you'll see a tab called previous year papers. Click on it and you get the previous year papers for various exams. So click on MAH CET there and you'll find the previous year papers. Okay. Right. Any other queries that you guys have?
Yeah, please.
Yes. So Shazvi loved your gulab jamun wala example.
Don't don't have too much of them. Have roti, dal, chawal more in exam. Also have concepts in place first.
Right. I think that would be tips for time management in CET. Sumit is asking.
Time management. Okay. So in this case, I would say, again, going back to the basics, what I said, see, you at this point of time, you know the number of seconds, not minutes, the number of seconds that you have for each question. And I gave you a ballpark boundary, which I had for myself. If I'm not solving a question in a minute, it's better to leave it. So that is one. You have to understand your idea that how much question you can solve confidently. For example, I'll tell you, during my time, 160 was the number which I could solve with good accuracy of, say, 160. I'm solving with 90%. I'm getting 144 correct. Okay. You have to know this in your mind, that what is your that number 160, what is 160 for you, and what is 90% accuracy for me, what is that accuracy for you. Okay. Once you have that in your mind, okay, then you can know, okay, so people are saying 200 divided by 150, so this much second, but I have to focus on 170 question. So now that equation become 170 upon 150. Okay. And but then you have to take care of the accuracy. Okay. If your accuracy goes down to, say, 80%, then you are either here, either there. You can get in, you cannot get in, right? So time management, it again boils down to two things: how has been your practice, practice is the basic, what I have been talking about. The simple thing, I give example of sports, investing, etc. First is the simple thing, practice, practice, and practice. And I know you guys must have done till now. You have like 20 days. Just go for it in the last power play. That is number one. Number two is very clear when I talked about accuracy part. You have to be very accurate about it. Okay, you can't aim for 90%. If you slip at 80%, but you have focus only on 170 question, then you are in a little bit difficulty with those 17 extra questions that are here or there. Okay, so I would say conditioning, the way you have gave exam, that is one. If you have conditioned yourself well on the day of exam, you will have no exam jitters. And second is practice.
Perfect. I think perfectly put. Parmar has a question. So, is MAH CET more difficult as compared to CAT?
No, although I would actually put in a different way. The nature of the exams are very difficult. They are very much difficult. I would say CAT is you have a lot of time per question because the questions are less, and then you are tested on much deeper, at least on a conceptual level. So I have no shame in admitting there were few reading comprehension in CAT in 2015 CAT, which I gave 2015 CAT for 2016 admission, right? Which I could not even comprehend. And I'm someone who think that I'm a good reader, I understand everything. And few of the CAT reading comprehension just bounce to me because they were more on philosophical level, abstract level. Okay, so conceptually, CAT will test you much more. Number one. Okay, but this does not mean that CET is simple. CET is surely difficult because it's a different level of exam. You have speed against time. Okay, and then see, you have 1 lakh people competing for 120 coveted seats in Bajaj. Okay, so please keep that in mind also. The difficulty increases at that point of time because no exam is absolute, they are relative. Okay, so you have 120 seats in CET, so in that way they're different. But now since CAT is done, admissions are done, you focus on CET and just do it, and don't consider it difficult. Just have a mindset, it is simple.
Right. And so I think, Parmar, that answers your question. Charlie is asking if you remember what your first mock score was.
First mock, I think I gave that answer. When the first mock
yes.
I gave on 2nd or 3rd February. I think I started, it was somewhere in the range of 105 to 110. I think 110 was something. But because at that point of time, I realized, okay, my concepts are in place. Okay, because I've prepped for 3 months, so concepts are in place. But then clearly one place I was lacking was the speed. Because this was, I had given CAT, so CAT is not speed-based exam. So when, again, as I talked about giving mock, practice and conditioning, when I'm giving my first mock of CET, I have no idea how much time I have to spend on each question. Like I'm very in my, okay, this is synonym, this is antonym, I'll take it very, taking my own sweet time. But then when I went to quant, I realized, okay, I don't have time, rush, and then A, B, C, D, as you do it, right? So I would say it was 105 to 1010, but then it steadily increased. Yeah, it steadily increased. Once I realized that, no, it is time-based, you have to give less time per question and just move on. Don't be attached to any question.
Right. So don't worry about what your mock score currently is. Just analyze it, analyze your mocks, look into the why of your scores, right? And keep on improving in every mock. Okay. Rahul is asking, should I improve vocabulary in last days? I think CET doesn't ask individual vocabulary questions. Who told you this, Rahul? So should I start improving or should I leave it? Okay. Yes. Nitin, would you like to?
Why? So see the assumption that vocabulary will only help you in very specific vocab question is wrong. Okay. Why do I say so? Because vocabulary is going to help you in parajumbles. Vocabulary is going to help you in reading comprehension. And once you crack reading comprehension, you're solving like 4 to 5 questions in like say 2 to 3 minutes. So first assumption that vocabulary, even if there is no question, vocabulary is going to help you in reading comprehension. For example, at any point of time, if you know meaning of a difficult word. So I remember my journey when I started preparation. That point of time, I was reading books and stuff, but then vocabulary was not that great. It improved over time. So that happens with reading. So today when I read any comprehension, I can, there is no, ideally there is, thankfully, there is no need for me to read each and every sentence. Once you're good with vocabulary, you're good with the construct of the sentences, you will breeze through. So the advantages of having a good vocab are much beyond those 2-3 questions. It will help you in 10 to 15 verbal question. I assure you, you're going to help. You won't read each and every, you'll just understand, okay, there is this word written, this means this. So rest all are fillers. Just go ahead. Okay. So have a good vocab. Okay. Now, whether you have to do it at this point of time, you have to analyze it yourself. How good or bad you are in verbal, that is number one. If you are scoring very low in verbal, very, very low. So I would just, that is one of my strategies, what I have seen. If you are giving me one con question, you're giving me one verbal question. I personally think there is no rocket science in getting it, in knowing it, which will be solved faster. So con question requires a little bit more application, more concept. Verbal, if you are good with sentences, you're good with grammar, good with your reading, good with your reading speed, I personally think you can solve 5 verbal questions in much less time than 5 con questions. Okay, this is what I think. Okay, so analyze yourself where you stand in verbal. Don't leave verbal vocab, because I personally think they actually takes your score higher, much higher. So one who is good in verbal will have that extra time, because you will solve verbal in much quicker time than say logical reasoning or DI or abstract or con for that matter. And I think I'm telling this from practice that verbal takes less time than con, 100%, no doubt about it. So please don't ignore verbal.
So Rahul, just look at the past year papers, direct vocabulary, closed passages, they are asked in MAH CET. It's not like they aren't. So yes, go through the previous year papers once. That will give you an idea. Okay, where do I stand in terms of vocabulary? And accordingly, you can make a decision. Of course, right now, you can't spend, let's say, 2 to 3 hours on vocabulary. That won't make sense. So just see where you stand currently. How much do you need to put in to, sail through it in the exam, right? Okay, and this is the last question that we're going to take for today. Any tips for the D-Day?
For the D-Day, for the final day, right?
Yes.
So I remember that on my final day, I was actually quite relaxed. And I think that the feeling of being relaxed came from the fact that I knew that the preparation, that is the diet, which I called about the healthy food, has been really good in the last 3 months. And then post that, I had some tips, what we call, remembering square, having few mental calculation in mind, right? And then cubes, etc. There's few of the things. I have formulas memorized in my mind. I have basics in place. I have also the garnishing which I require. Okay. And third most important thing, I was in this situation for 15 to 17 times in my mock, because I made sure that I gave all the mocks in that particular exam simulated environment. So since I was in that particular way, I was not stressed. Okay. So again, I'll repeat it at the expense of repetition that please do simple things in a correct manner. Okay. I can tell you, don't take stress, but then I think question can come how not to take stress, because it is about your future. I do understand. Okay. So what I'll say, what I did a day before. So see, please don't give mocks on the last day, and don't analyze like 12 in the night. Next day you have exam, you have to go to a center far away from your home. Don't do that. Just literally what I did, I'll tell you, you do something that you like to de-stress yourself a day before. Okay, I took to a good book. I just started reading. I was de-stressed completely. And when I went into the D-Day, okay, just have faith in yourself. You have prepped for like 4 months now. Okay, you have prepped for 4 months. You know that you have concepts in place. Okay, again, at the end of the day, it is exam. It is a relative exam. As I told you, 95% hard work, 95% something that you put in, and 5% something extra can happen. Okay. So just have that in your mind, that, and have confidence in yourself. I'll do it, and you'll surely do it. They're like, you just require 1 seat out of 120. Have that mindset.
Absolutely. So Rahul is thankful. Sana is also saying thank you. Thank you so much, Nitin, for being here. I think you've given some really good tips to us today. And I hope all of you implement them. I hope you work hard and smart both during these last few days. Right? All the best to all of you. Thank you so much again, Nitin. And
Thanks a lot for calling me first. It is genuinely always nice to talk to aspirants. I have done it quite a time on offline basis. I think this is the first time I'm doing an online portal like this. I would just last tip for all the aspirant, have your it's very simple. Just keep it simple. What we call KISS in especially in corporate terms, corporate parlance. Just keep it simple. Just do what you have to do. Focus on your, as we call, in Bhagavad Gita, kartavya, and then the rest will follow. If you have done your work, you are going to get the outcome from CT. And just all the best to everyone. Get into JB. It's very nice place to be in. You will reap the benefits for your life, 100%. Just focus on that. Yeah.
thank you. Thank you so much, all of you. We'll wrap up the session now. If you still have any queries, you can always ask those queries to us on the Gradeup app. We are always available for you. Just prepare well. Okay. Bye. Have a good night.
Bye, Nikita. Bye, everyone. Yeah.
Bye.